Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we have one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you click land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around, that'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final, and as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to re-sequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Bam! Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us on. I can't speak. Thank you very much for joining us on this grim weather evening. The good news is we can see Patty Wagstaff enjoying herself in the green room, so we're looking forward to talking to Patty later. We have got a Sky Demon tip, we got some weather from Simon, we got a bit of news. For those of you who've tuned in just for Patty, we'll be seeing Patty at somewhere around 5 to 8 local time. I've just seen we've got someone just joined us from Sweden, Michael from Sporties. Hello, Michael. Patty's gone. Oh my God, what's happened? She'll be back. She'll be back, I'm sure.
She's like, I'm not needed until then.
I'm out of here. I'll be back later. I'll go and fly some aerobatics or something in the meantime. Right. Okay. Let's move things on. So apologies for being a little bit late. I kind of just forgot where we were and forgot to. Anyway, I was rubbish. So there you go. First things first. Thank you very much. Oh, I haven't even done that bit yet. First things first, yes, Sky Demon. Thank you very much, Sky Demon, for supporting the live stream. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, we couldn't do it without you. Here is a brand new tip from Hannah, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sky Demon, and this is this week's top tip. Sky Demon allows you to import your own PDFs into the app, which you may find useful for accessing things like checklists, airfield information, and other reference documents which you might need when planning or flying. PDFs can be shared with Sky Demon from an email or a web page like this one, using the iPad's Share button. Choose Sky Demon, and the app will immediately launch with a message to let you know that the PDF has been added to your user documents library. You'll find it here in the Airfields tab. To delete a PDF that you no longer need, just swipe to the left. For more information, go to our website, skydemon.aero.
Well, that's really useful.
It's brilliant. For a start, you can easily put the interception procedures on there, which is one of those kind of legal requirement things that you're supposed to have with you when you go abroad, or maybe even in the UK. I can't remember. And then lots. What was that? What was that look of disdain there, Johnny?
Not disdain, just ignorance.
I guess if you're flying,
procedures, they'll have to catch me first.
That's it. Yeah. If you're flying somewhere that's got a decent restaurant, you could probably import a menu.
That's really good. But the other thing is, whenever you're flying to France, quite often you get like the big multi-page special area kind of thing. Just to pop that in there and have that on screen is very useful sometimes. So good little feature there.
Ian Force is already on it. He says Perth's unofficial VOR plate is already getting added.
Good idea. Well, I'm not going to say anything because it's an unofficial thing, etc.
And Smith says, great tip. I'm using that for checklists.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe there's some kind of useful flyer information we could produce on a little thing and get it out there. It is really useful. It's a good thing. Good. Right. Let's move on. First of all, just a quick one. It's Fly 2023 in 2023 time soon. So just a quick little thank you to our supporters who are up here on my thing. Thank you very much, Bose Continental and U Avionics. I can see I'm very sharp tonight. You've got a little while left to go, and I think there's some good weather coming, hopefully. And we'll find out. Well, let's go find out now, shall we? Let's go and scroll down to the weather and see what Simon's got in store. He's not live, but he's kind of like pseudo-live. There you go.
Hi everyone, sorry I can't be with you this evening, but hopefully you're well and looking forward to the weekend, which actually is not looking too bad. This is the situation for Friday. Yeah, bit horrible tomorrow across many parts of central and southern England, with fronts here, some heavy bursts of rain. You see here on the cloud ceiling forecast that those cloud ceilings are going to be pretty low. The orange and yellow colour showing us 500 to 1,000 foot bases. Hefty bursts of rain associated with the cold front you see across northern England and across northern Wales, and some more hefty bursts of rain as well, clearing away from southeast England. This occluded front in the middle, and what a mess of fronts, is actually going to be weakening to some extent. So in central areas through Friday, we may actually get some flying conditions, but they're not going to be lasting very long. Now, by contrast, behind that, we're getting this northwesterly flow coming in across Scotland and across much of Ireland. Some hefty showers across many northern and western parts of Scotland. Pretty windy here, though, risk of some gale force winds. Eastern Scotland, much better, so some decent flyable conditions here, and for Northern Ireland as well. Bases in the east of Scotland, 4,000 feet, and the top's probably up at about 12,000 feet. Now, as we get in towards Saturday, I think not a bad day. Northwesterly flow to polar maritime MS. So that's going to be bringing us sunshine and showers. Most of the showers across northern and western parts of Scotland into northwest England, northern parts of Wales, Northern Ireland. One or two of the showers could be on the heavy side, and bases around 2,000 feet, tops probably at about 20 to 25,000 feet. Risk of some hail, risk of some thunder, and also some sleet and snow over higher ground. However, for northeast England, the Midlands, southern parts of England, southern Wales, southwest England, all looking pretty decent. Good visibility between any showers. Typical bases around 3,000 feet. Tops are up at about 15,000 feet. Just one or two showers passing through. And the wind's probably around about west-northwesterly, coming in at around about 15 knots for most of us. A bit quicker across northern parts of Scotland. Now, on to Sunday. High pressure is with us through Sunday. Could be some morning mist and fog that we need to watch for, particularly for the Midlands, Northern England, Wales and southern parts of England. But that will lift, it'll clear. And actually, most of the day looks pretty decent. I think broken cloud bases probably around about 3 to 5,000 feet, and the tops getting up at about 7,000 feet. Some clouds, some rain across northern parts of Scotland. Here we're going to be finding bases 1,000 feet, tops at 15,000 feet, and some periods of rain. But generally, Sunday looking like being quite a good day. Now, last week, remember saying that all of my weather school courses were full. Well, I put out the feelers and said, does anybody want to do a course before the next ones? And the response came back, yes please. So I've put on an Aviation Weather School Part 1 online course, which is going to run over the consecutive Tuesdays of the 17th and 24th of October. So that's next Tuesday and the Tuesday after, between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. So if you want to come to Aviation Weather School, this is your chance. As I say, all the other ones are full. But if you go to weatherschool.co.uk, you can book your place now. I'll show you how you can predict flying windows up to 5 days in advance. I'll build your weather confidence with flying as well, taking you beyond the PPL, and I'll improve your flight safety too. So come and enjoy the course. You will enjoy it. I know you'll enjoy it, and I'll get you flying more. Okay, I will leave you with that for now. Whatever you're doing, have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you next week, guys. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Simon. That was jolly good. I forgot to mention that Welsh Richie, who may or may not be in the comments today, enjoyed his prize from last year's 2022 in 2022, which was a good old days flying around in a brand new Cirrus. Bumped into him. Well, had lunch with him at Goodwood. It was good. Right. Should we move on to news, or does someone want to do a quick question of the week?
Yeah, quick question of the week was because Welsh Richie, who won Fly 2022, got to fly a brand new Cirrus. We were wondering what's the newest aeroplane you've flown. So pop your answer in the comments. If you're watching on catch up, pop it in the comments later on.
There were some pretty impressive answers in the Livestream Extra yesterday, which is the members only livestream we run on a Wednesday afternoon. So that was quite impressive. Right, let's get to the news. Dave.
Yep. The news, if you like, is the CAA has appointed a new chief executive. Is Rob Bishton. He's not actually brand new to the job because he's been in the post as interim joint CEO since April. He was joint with a chap called Paul Smith. But Rob Bishton has now got the job for real and starts on Saturday, weirdly, October the 21st. He's got an extensive career in aviation, including being a commercial pilot. I read somewhere he's got over 10,000 flying hours, which is a fair number. He served in a number of industry roles. He's joined the CAA in 2014, been member of the CAA board since 2019, led the Safety and Airspace Regulation Group, helped lead the organisation preparation for Brexit, basically. And so he seems to be quite well qualified to handle what's a quite political job. The CAA statement announcing his appointment highlighted some key drivers for him in coming up. And they are relentless focus on safety, increased benefits for consumers, in best value for industry, enabling new technologies, read drones, and working internationally. So when he starts the job, he will immediately plunge into all sorts of what's the word? Begins with S, ends with T, 4 letters, silt. And there's a review into the August failure of the NATS UK air traffic system. Of course, Gatwick has just had another problem with having to restrict flights, not enough air traffic controllers. There's the modernisation of UK airspace. There are bilateral agreements with other national regulators that popped back into the news today with a survey on the functioning of current agreements and what people would like to see in the future. If you'd like to have your say, there is a link which somebody will pop into the comments for you. Then, of course, not to mention, there's also electronic conspicuity, big things still to be sorted out. Got to determine what technology is going to drive it forwards. The drones, of course, integrating them into regular airspace. And not least, especially for us, there's the PPL licensing review. So he's got a lot on his plate immediately.
Adrian Norris asks, is best place in the world for GA not a priority anymore?
No. Hang on a minute, Adrian, you cynic. You have to know that Rob Bishton probably played a central part in already making the UK the best place in the world for general aviation. I mean, clearly he's achieved that. He's going to move on. I must admit, Dave, when I read the CAA press release about it, I read blah, 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 waffle, 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 blah, blah. It was just, I thought it was going, I guess it's just, they must just get one out. Standard press releases. Get 52 delivered, we'll send one out a week.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, no, let's give them a chance. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, and to be fair, usually when new people get the CAA CEO role, they get terrible photos. And actually, Rob Bishton's photo, they've managed to make him look quite nice, haven't they?
Normal.
So far, so good. And he's starting on a Saturday like that. He gets 2 paid days before he actually has to do any work.
He's like, hang on.
He's got a reading folder that deep,
Right, I've got a very short CAA story actually. So this is kind of carrying on this briefly. There was a CAA note that came out today on the provision and support of emergency channel 1215. That was kind of interesting because in the first part of it, the very, very first paragraph, it kind of gets on to talk about the differences that the UK can file from the ICAO requirements. And then a bit further down it goes, there's this little gem here, which the CAA has asked the MOD to provide it with a regular report on the utilisation of the emergency channel for practice emergencies and training fixes, and to send that report on a quarterly basis. I don't know why that could be.
But I like your new tinfoil hat.
I'm just wondering whether I need it or I don't need it. Following that, is that the CAA looking and going, well, what's going on here? Maybe it's time to file another difference. I don't know. Or maybe it's time. In fact, practice plans and stuff like that is already a difference. So maybe they're thinking it's time to unfile that. Who knows? Anyway, I wasn't sure if I needed this or not, and I'm still not sure. Let us know in the comments whether you think I do or not. Ed.
Yes, I've got some interesting eVTOL news. So the oddly named aerospace company called Opener, who make the airplane called the ultralight called the Blackfly, they've announced their newest aeroplane, the Helix. Looks an awful lot like the Blackfly, but they're saying it's their first scalable production vehicle. They've also decided to change the company name from that odd name Opener. They're now called Pivotal, which they claims represents their trailblazing influence on the industry, and their transition now to becoming a product delivering entity. So Ken Carklin, CEO of Pivotal, said, with Helix, we become the leading manufacturer of light eVTOL aircraft. Helix is the next iteration of 10 plus years of innovating, testing and delivering. And they've obviously opened their early access program at Oshkosh, where they started delivering to a bunch of customers in the US. So they have given a price now, because originally this thing was going to be the price of a high-end SUV.
Don't reveal the price just yet, Ed.
Yes.
I've got a very, very short video. It's only 20 seconds showing this thing actually flying. So let's play the video and let's ask everyone who's remotely interested.
How much?
Have a guess and stick your numbers in the comments. So here's a little video. Oh, by the way, I should say this came with dramatic American corporate music, but we weren't sure who held the copyright for that, so we replaced it with some more appropriate music. So this isn't Blackfly's music. This is our music.
Uh-oh. That video is great, but it's ignored. And the one cool thing it does is once it's done that very odd takeoff and landing, or once it's done the very odd takeoff, it does fly in a kind of wing-borne mode, and I think it's pretty cool. But the landing is pretty awkward. The whole reverse park thing. Mike Roberts says, "I've only just noticed that Blackfly now has. Don't forget, it's called Helix now. The Blackfly now has wingtip gear. That's new, is it not? It is. Yeah." Jeff Bridges is going in on the cheap side. He says 50 quid to Jeff. And it's not, you can get one free. It is $190,000, which from January 9th, 2024, you can start placing orders. So 25% deposit, or 25% deposit, and first customer deliveries they're saying will begin in June 2024. So, but at the moment, I think they're still restricting it to the US market. So, who knows? I wonder whether we'll ever see that in the UK. Be nice.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it'll be interesting, won't it? Okay, just a quick bit of news. If you're not doing anything next Tuesday, there is a Wingley webinar. So Wingley, as you know, are basically saying that the proposed CA changes to the rules is effectively going to shut them down. The views on Wingley, if you look at social media, vary wildly. So here's your chance to go along, talk to Wingley, see what's going on. Sign up for that webinar. I'll be watching. I'm not taking part in it or anything, but let's see what they got to say next Tuesday, 17th at 7 p.m.
Actually, there's a little late bit of news on that, in that Martin Robinson of AOPA, who's actually speaking in the webinar, he tweeted today about having the CAA having had a last-minute change of mind, and but didn't say what it was. So maybe he's going to reveal it next Tuesday.
Well, that is fascinating, interesting. Right,
Johnny, free money.
Yeah, free money. So there's more bursaries coming from the LAA. So there's going to be 5 bursaries of 1,500 quid available to help PPL students with their flight training costs. And this forms what's known as the Armstrong Isaacs Fund, which was set up by David Armstrong, who was a founder member of the ULAA in the 40s. The bursaries are going to be awarded to pilots under the age of 30 who are already in training, and it's going to offer some finance, sort of to help them get through the latter stages of the course. You must have reached first solo standard, and completed 5 hours solo, have a valid medical, and you should have passed all the exams. So free money. Go and click the link if
usefully, I assume we were supplied this picture. They sent a picture of a young person having received some free money.
Yes, it will make you happy like that.
Semaphore.
Excellent. Okay, last bit of news, Johnny.
Yeah, so we've got another webinar coming up next week. We've got Ricardo Velarde giving us. Sorry.
The week after.
Week after. Week
on Tuesday.
Ricardo Donardis is going to give us some tips on flying into Italy, which I'm sure will be interesting. And we've got 2 more lined up for the year. Next month, we've got Simon Keeling in to talk about weather. And then in December, John Cook's going to be talking about licensing. So still more to come. And all of the webinars from we've been running them for about 18 months now, are all available to watch online if you're a club member. So get amongst it.
So just a quick reminder before we head over to Patty, if you are a member of the club, you get a webinar every single month, which is exclusive to you. Every week you get a live stream extra on a Wednesday afternoon. Every month you get free landing fees. This month there's 8 free landing fees. You also get completely unlimited access to all of the content that you produce. You get a little special badge and access to private areas on the forum. And hit that like button and join the club. £5 a month. Not bad, not a bargain. You don't get much for £5 a month in aviation, for sure. Right, should we head over onto Patty and see how Patty is?
Yes.
Yeah. She's just looked up. So,
Hey, Patty.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi. How are you?
I'm
Thanks for
good.
joining us.
I'm good. I don't know what to expect, but I'm good.
Well, neither do we. Funnily enough. Before I promoted Johnny to the top, because he's going to have a chat to you first, and then we'll just butt in and ask you other questions as we go.
Yeah. So, for people who there's probably like one person who doesn't know who Patty is. So just a bit of background: 3-time US National Aerobatic Champion, 6-time member of the US Aerobatic Team, gold, silver, and bronze medal winning at the IAC, and obviously inductee into the National Aviation Hall of Fame. You're kind of, I guess, we'll start off. You're best known really for aerobatics and airshow flying, but you've done a lot of really interesting stuff outside of boxes. So just tell us how you got into aviation in the first place.
I grew up in aviation. My dad was a pilot, and so aviation was part of my life since for as long as I can remember. So, but he flew big airplanes. It wasn't until I moved to Alaska that I was around small airplanes. Oh, you've even got a picture.
Oh, yeah.
I was about 9 or 10. We just moved to Japan, and he was flying for Japan Airlines. And my favorite things to do were to go fly with him and take a day off from school and go somewhere in Japan. And he'd let me sit in the left seat and just, sit in the cockpit the whole time. And I loved it.
Fantastic. So you got into flying when you were in Alaska, I think. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. I moved to Alaska. I was in my 20s, and my parents had moved there, and my sister was there. And I got a job out in a small town, and actually a village. I'm in southwestern Alaska, and that's where I started to fly. I finally had the opportunity. It was the first time I'd ever had an opportunity to actually fly an airplane myself.
Yeah. What was your first solo in?
My first solo was in a beach sport in outside of Anchorage. A little sport. I don't know what they're called now. I think they have a different name.
Yeah. And how long did it take for you to get into aerobatics? Did you get into aeros because you were bored of flying straight and level, or was it just another challenge you wanted to tick off?
Yeah, I didn't want a career in aviation per se, but I knew I wanted to do something, and I wanted to do something I was good at and something I could excel at. And I went to an air show and said, "That's it. That's what I want to do." So that that's my second pits. That was an S1T. So I had several pitses, and
yeah. So from the perspective of flying air shows in the US, in the UK, it's a much smaller scene. Clearly, can flying air shows in the US pay a wage? Can you live off it, or is it something you need to do as a hobby?
You can, most people do it as a sideline. But when I say that, I don't mean that it's not really a hobby. You can't really fly low level, kind of hardcore air shows without it being your primary focus, because you have to stay in shape for it. And there's a lot. Flying air shows requires a lot of paperwork, a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of conditioning. So even pilots that fly full-time air shows, that they see that as their main thing. And then if they fly for an airline, that's sort of secondary to it. People that do air shows full-time, it's very difficult to make a living doing air shows. The only way you can really get ahead and make money is if you have a sponsor or multiple sponsors that help pay your way. And that's how I did it for so many years. So yeah, that's really what it takes. And then you have to fly a lot of shows, usually 20 shows a year, but you can do it. There are between 300 and 400 air shows in the US every year. The financial hasn't really increased over the years. I still get paid pretty similar to what I got paid 10 years ago, but there are ways that you can make it work, and so on and so forth. It's pretty hard. You have to be motivated. Obviously, you have to feel like it's sort of a calling. If somebody's determined to go fly air shows and they're going to be an air show pilot, they're going to do it. They'll find ways to pay for it, and they'll find ways to make it work.
Would you struggle to actually fit things in that you want to do? Because in the UK, flying an extra, you could be from the top of the country to the bottom in 3 hours. But it's very different in the US.
Air show pilots in the UK fly 2 or 3 air shows in a weekend. which we can't do because it's so far, the distances are so far. Yeah, I live in Florida and I get requests to do shows in California still. And I'm like, it's going to cost me, I'm going to have to charge them a lot of money to do it. It costs maybe $5,000 just to get across the country anymore with the price of fuel and, hotels and so on. So it's pretty expensive. What you do when you're doing 20 shows a year or something like that, and you're doing it full time, is you plan your season around this, sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for, a route. And you might do 2 or 3 shows on the West Coast and then work your way back across the country with some shows, say in Texas, and then work your way over to the East Coast. So you plan it that way. You can do it when you're doing a lot of shows a year. There's ways to do it.
Yeah. And talking about being committed and, flying hardcore low-level aerobatics, how often do you need to practice when you're up at the level of competitions and big air shows? Are you doing it every day?
In the spring, after you take a break in the winter, just relax and get away from airplanes a little bit, and you have maintenance done and so on and so forth. And in the springtime, you really need to practice on a daily basis for several weeks just to get your G tolerance up, depending what you're doing in the winter. If you're teaching or coaching and doing a little flying in the winter, then you maintain your G tolerance. But the longer you leave it, the harder it is to get back into it. Not get back into it, but get conditioned again. And negative G's are the really difficult part of it. When you're pulling positive G's, it's not very difficult to get used to that. But the negative G's take a lot of conditioning. And it's funny, I thought about it during COVID. I had one little air show in November of that year, and we all joked because we said we had to pay the promoter to let us fly it just to get in the air and do something. But I had to stay in condition pretty much all year just for that one show. So it doesn't matter if you have one show or 20 shows, you still have to stay in condition because you can't do it overnight. So 2 or 3 days a week plus the air show and maybe a day. If you're in shape, you take a break Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, then fly Thursday, Friday, fly the air show Saturday, Sunday.
So I've got a question about the air show prep, because obviously to have been US Aerobatic Champion must take a whole load of work. What are the big differences between preparing for the competition flying and preparing for the air show stuff? I mean, the two.
Yeah, the competition flying is much harder on your body. I mean, it takes you push a lot of G's, a lot of positive and negative G's. It's very, very it's very intense and takes a lot of practice. And when you bounce back and forth, which I did, and some other competition air show pilots have done, you're going from air show to competition, and the air shows help pay for contest flying and so on, and help bring in sponsors and so forth. It's hard too because air show flying and competition flying are very, very different. So you can't just take your competition flying to an air show and be prepared. It just isn't the same thing. It's not even safe to do that. And you get sloppy flying air shows. You tend to get a little sloppier, and some of the the flying techniques are different. So you have to practice again going into a competition. So you sort of need about 2 weeks between a contest and an air show to be able to do that, if that makes sense.
It does. So in that kind of like the half an hour or the hour before you actually fly either a competition or an air show, is your head in a different place depending on what it is? In that case, is the preparation different?
Yeah, a totally different place. For me, when I competed, I haven't competed in a while, but in number of years, but I was really nervous, and I had to work very hard for years to overcome nerves and trying to fly my best during a competition. You go out and you practice and you feel like everything is you're flying on rails and everything feels really good. Then you get to a contest and everything falls apart because of nerves. And I read a lot of books on sports psychology and had all these little like little platitudes that I'd read beforehand and techniques and things that helped me. But with an air show, I never got nervous. It was just all fun. I mean, it's serious, but I always felt calm and just ready to go. It's really funny how your mind can, play tricks on you and how things affect you. So totally different mind.
Did you have a particular influence? Was there an air show performer as you were growing up that you watched and you went, I want to be like them one day?
Yeah, I mean, I never competed with Leo Ladenslager. He was before my time, but I got to be friends with him, and his style was so precise and so technically, correct and perfect. And he was able to win world championship and national championships and still go to an air show and be very precise. And kind of the word has always been, or what it used, I don't know if it is now, but it was, oh yeah, you're great during competition, and then you leave. Once you retire from competition, you become a really sloppy airshow pilot. And I didn't see him doing that, and I didn't want to do that myself. So I tried to keep my precision and keep things technically accurate and good as I fly air, as I'm just flying air shows. So yeah, Leo was a real inspiration to me because of his work ethic and his dedication and how he approached it. And there were a lot of people, though. I watched everybody, and you can really learn from everybody in the business in some way. You can even learn from the people that, have accidents. I mean, you learn a lot from that too. So I think it's really important to watch everybody and learn from everybody, and learn from people in the past that you never knew, or, that went before you. What mistakes did they make, and why were they great at what they did? What were some of the cool little techniques that they had, back in the 30s? They were such great entertainers and performers in the 30s. And in between the wars when people were barnstorming around the country. So you can learn from them.
Is there a sort of circus of air display pilots who go around the country during the summer performing at events? Is this kind of a camaraderie between you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And when I was doing it really full time, and doing 20 plus shows a year, it was really fun. You'd catch up with people on the road, sometimes in between places, or fly together to the next show and end up stuck in Kansas somewhere, and definitely a lot of fun. And you get to be really close friends. So yeah, definitely a lot of camaraderie. But most, air show pilots get along really well. We're all part of the same, brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever, part of the same team. And so it's definitely a very fun thing to be involved in.
When you won that first, I was just going to ask, is there one show in particular that really you love to go to? Or is it all of them?
Yeah, I mean, every show is different. Air show pilots, we fly huge military base shows where you can get 1 million people over a weekend. El Toro used to be one of the biggest shows ever, and you'd look down at this massive crowd, and they would be, one year they said there were 2 million people in attendance. And because military base shows are free to the public, I mean, you have to pay for concessions and Coke and hamburgers and stuff, but they're free to the public. And El Toro is just outside Los Angeles, so right part of this huge city. So it would be, they call it the mother of all air shows. So you fly these huge air shows, but the next weekend you might be in Lafayette, Louisiana, parking your plane on grass and with a small crowd of people. So that kind of contrast is really fun. I think everybody really loves flying Oshkosh because you're flying in front of your peers. I think most air shows, they say, the last statistics I read were somewhere around 18% of people in air shows are pilots. And at Oshkosh, it's a much, much higher, I don't know if it's 50% or what it is, but you're flying in front of other pilots and your peers. And I always joke and say I'm going to fly in front of 100,000 of my best friends when I'm there. So even though I don't get nervous at air shows, I get a little nervous at Oshkosh when I'm flying there. Because plus it's live streamed around the world. The whole flying, and you just have to forget all that and just go fly your best and try and have a good time. But I'll fly 2 or 3 times during the week, and usually my first flight, I never feel really, as good as I do my second, third flight. I don't quite feel one with the airplane because you are flying in front of all your peers.
Have you ever had an oops moment? Sorry, have you ever had an oops moment where you go, oops, that's not quite how I intended?
I have had a couple of oops moments, but I haven't had them at air shows. I've been fairly lucky. I have scared myself a couple of times in years prior, and it was due to lack of focus. Something was going on in my life, and my head just wasn't in it. And it was a big wake-up call, to either get with the program and stay completely focused and treat air shows as serious as they need to be treated, or get out of it. And so I chose to stay in it and keep that in mind. And probably the most I've scared myself are flying cross country, because we have these huge distances, as you were saying earlier, to fly to. Sometimes you fly 1,000 miles to the next air show or more, and you get in all kinds of weather. The planes are VFR, and in the early days when I first started, I didn't have a GPS, I didn't have Loran, I didn't even have a compass or a radio in my first pit. And so there are times I use road maps and sectionals, and you're trying to read, and you can't take your hand off the stick, and the weather's getting worse, and you're reading highway lines or water towers, and you're just going, where's the next airport? It was exciting, I'm really, really glad that I had that experience, because people flying, today don't have that experience. They all have glass cockpits and GPSs and so on and so forth. So I learned so much, and I really felt like an old barnstormer. I felt like somebody from the 30s flying around. It was fantastic. Until you take the wrong turn and you think you're on this railroad track, and it turns out to be a railroad track, and there's a black cloud ahead and a roll cloud, and you have to turn around, and you're down to your last 8 gallons of fuel. So it's scary.
Yeah. So you've flown a whole different array of aerobatic airplanes. You say you started off with Pizzes, and I think then you moved to extras. Have you just talk us through some of the airplanes you've had over time?
The first aerobatic plane I had was a little Super Decathlon. I had that in Alaska, and my husband and I paid about $22,000 for it. And now a new Super Decathlon is almost $400,000. So even with inflation, things have gotten incredibly expensive. And it was a great airplane. It's still out there flying. In fact, all the other planes that I've owned are still flying. None of them have, been wrecked or anything like that. Or maybe they've had some incidents, but they're still flying. They're still registered and they're still flying. And that's in the museum. Yeah, that one's registered to the Air and Space Museum. If you go online and you look up, I guess it's 260 Papa Whiskey. I can't remember the end number, but that one's registered to the Air and Space Museum. And it's still flyable. Everything they have at the museum is still exactly as it was when it was flying, down to the fuel pump, down to the part number. And so you could, the engine's pickled, of course, but you could spool that up and, take it out of.
Is it quite cool to know that your aeroplane is hanging not far from one of Amelia Earhart's airplanes?
Yeah, of course. It's so surreal. And right now, they just revitalized the museum. They call it revitalization, and they redid it, new galleries. I haven't been there yet. I have to go see it. But so it's hanging in a new spot, and it's right next to Jackie Cochran's T-38. He broke the sound barrier in. The first one. Sound barrier. Yeah, so I'm in really good company.
Excellent. So we interrupted you with that photo, but what happened after the Super Decathlon?
Then I got a little S1S Pitts, a little 180 horsepower fixed pitch S1S Pitts. Super fun. Bought half inch in it, and just to see where it was going to go. And then I was able to get on the US Aerobatic team that summer. I just flew 10 air shows. And a couple little air shows, and I flew 10 contests and just trained every day. And then Then after I got on the team, an S1T Pitts, which is the one in that earlier picture, and that's a 200 horsepower. Yeah, that one has a constant speed prop, and it's 200 horsepower. And that one I flew in South Cerny at my first World Championship in 1986.
Yeah.
So we brought that over on a C5. And then I wanted a 600 plane, so I got an S2S, which eventually went to South Africa and is flying over there. It's still flying. It was flying on a couple of the teams. I think not the Rothmans team, but a couple of their teams that they had on there. But the roll rate was very slow, and I was going to build up a super kits, kind of like a, Kermit Weeks had, something like that. And then I flew the extra 230 and said, no, this is it. I got to go to a monoplane. So I flew the extra 230, and then I got the 260 that's in the museum, and then I've had a couple of 300Ss, and then we have a 2-seater for the school, and I've flown some other 2-seat versions, on air shows and stuff.
What's your all-time favorite?
I don't think I have a real favorite, but I'm really enjoying flying the older S model that I've been flying this year in air shows. It's just such a great airplane to fly. It's just a 300 horsepower engine, and it's not the top of the line anymore, but it's still really fun to fly. So, yeah, I try not to have.
Sorry,
but
and I think you've dabbled a little bit in warbirds as well, haven't you?
Yeah. I was lucky enough to fly a couple of Mustangs, and that one in particular is super rare. And it was in England.
Yeah,
it was part of the collection. Was it at Duxford? Is that where it was?
Yes.
You guys know better than me. And that was an amazing plane to fly. I immediately got in that plane after flying a D model, and said, this thing is faster. And a couple of the old Warbird guys said, no, it's not. What are you talking about? And I said, it's faster. I can pick up speed faster, and I have more vertical to do rolls and stuff. And I looked it up, and I found, it was pretty obscure information, apparently. You probably already know this, but the reason it's faster, the leading edge of the wing is thinner because it was an earlier version of the P-51. And they thickened up the leading edge of the D model to make room, so it wasn't such a big bend for the bullets, or the ammo to take. But in the early C and D models, like Princess Elizabeth, there was I think it was about a 45 or 90 degree, don't quote me, right, bend to where the bullets came out to the guns, and they kept jamming. So they thickened up the leading edge on the D models so that there was less of a turn. And so it is faster because the leading edge is thinner. So there.
And how? Because for a lot of people, obviously they've got a time-worn path to get into the seat of a warbird. How did a seat in a Mustang come up? Did someone just toss you the keys one day?
Not quite that simple, but I started flying warbirds in like around 1993 or 4 when I was in Arizona, and we had the Evergreen Aviation Museum was there. Evergreen Airlines at the time had a warbird collection, and I was friends with. It was right next to the airport where I was basing, and in Tucson, and I got to be friends with them. And they needed an instructor, so they put me in the backseat of a T6, and I started teaching tailwheel transition and spin. I gave a spin course also in the T6, and I went and trained with somebody else that knew T6s and learned how to do it and so on. And I started flying the T-28 and the TBM there. So I had some experience. And then, I just always wanted to fly the coolest airplanes I could find. So I'd find my way into them, I've flown some turboprops in air shows and things like that. So when the Mustang thing came up, it was really for the Gathering Mustang in 2007. It's quite a long time ago now. And I said to my friend owned that airplane and a D model. And we were real good friends and flew air shows a lot. And, so I talked my way into that. And I did a tribute to the Wasps at the Gathering of Mustangs in the C model. There was nothing about the WASP. They didn't do anything for it. So there was nothing formalized, but there were a number of, former WASP that were there. So I wanted to do something specific. So I chose music and everything as a tribute to them. But, flying competition aerobatics and these little tailwheel airplanes, it's perfect training for warbirds. And it really is. It really gives you, and competition aerobatics gives you the skills that you need. I'm amazed. I've run into some people that own Mustangs that have never done a roll or a spin. And it's shocking to me. So, it's a good transition. It's a good way to transition, is to become a good aerobatic pilot.
And you've also, and we've got a photo here, you've done a bunch of flying for fire suppression as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I flew for CAL FIRE in California for 3 years. That's so there's a lot of firefighting in the States and in Canada and elsewhere, but the only state that has their own firefighting, funded aviation program is California. The rest are all federal contract. Like Colorado has a lot of fires and a lot of aerial firefighting, but they don't have a state, a state aviation program. But CAL FIRE is the state aviation program. And so they own pretty much the entire fleet of, not the entire, there's a couple of privately owned OV-10s out there, but most of the OV-10s in the world are owned by CAL FIRE, and they use them for forward air control or air attack. So I did that for three years, just because I really want to do it,
Yeah, and is that as like the aircraft that drops fire suppression stuff, or are you laying the smoke that the aircraft follows?
The planes that CAL FIRE uses for fire suppression, they now have C-130s, but they are mostly S-2Ts, turbine power S-2s that came out of the Navy. And they converted them from the big round engines to turbine engines a few years ago. So no, I was coming up for a tanker slot. That would be the next thing. But, the job is even though it's seasonal, you fly for a good part of the year. And it really I felt it was kind of restrictive to do other things. So I didn't take the tanker slot, and I did some other things.
So you said a little while ago that some people who own, you've spoken to some people who own warbirds who haven't done a roll or done a spin, which I guess brings us up to the modern day, because you're in St. Augustine there, but you also run Patty Wagstaff Training Academy, or it's not called training.
Yeah, we call it Patty Wagstaff Aviation Safety is what we call it. So yeah. It's even so. We started the school about 8-9 years ago, and it's done well, and it's getting busier, and a lot of people want training, but I've seen a big change even in the last few years of people that want upset training. It's kind of a new term, and when I first started school, I'm like, what's the deal with this upset training? Why don't they just get aerobatic training? And if they get people get aerobatic training from the beginning, they won't be worried about getting into trouble. They'll know how to recover from anything. But aerobatics has a connotation to it, and that, aerobatics is scary or dangerous, or I don't really want to do aerobatic. But the term upset training is really is a different training focus. It's less about aerobatics. It's more about training people just to stay out of trouble, how to recover from, say, wake turbulence or other type of upset, or they call it unusual attitudes. I don't really like that phrase, but that term. But it's become very, very well promoted. Everybody talks about it. All the aviation magazines and websites all talk about how important upset training is. The airlines have finally sort of gotten on board. They do upset training in simulators, which is better than nothing. It's not as effective. And even some airplane types are required, like the Eclipse. You have to have upset training. It's an insurance requirement. So all pilots getting a type rating for the Eclipse have to have at least 1 day of upset training. So we offer a 1-day course. So I've seen a huge change in that, where people are really starting to understand how important it is, which is good, which is really good. And, we get emails from parents saying, hey, my daughter, my son, is getting their private license, I really want to send them to you to get them some more advanced training, make sure they don't get in trouble, make sure they know how to do a spin. So I've seen a huge change in the last 10 years in that.
In the UK and Europe, we call it UPRT, and the UPRT
Yeah,
is becoming, on airplane UPRT as opposed to on sim UPRT, is becoming a requirement for professional pilot training, so be integrated
yeah.
at the beginning. And I guess aeroplane-wise, you've kind of gone back to the very start, because you're training, a lot of your training you're doing on super decathlons.
Yeah, it's true. It's a great trainer. You know, it's fun to fly. I usually sit in the back seat. I can't see anything. You know, there's usually some big there when I'm teaching. I can see I sort of peek around the corner, but it's a great trainer. You can do anything you need to do for basic training in it. So, but we do put people in the action too, and depending on what they're, you know, what course they're doing. But yeah, it's been really rewarding, fun. I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought, well, you know, everybody kept bugging me. When are you going to start a school? And I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. It just seems like a lot of work and no money and all this, you know, so on. But it's turned out to be really rewarding and fun. And I've gotten to be good friends with a lot of our students, and they come back and see us. And it's been great. You know, just we get the best people and people that really want to improve their flying. And, you know, it's been extremely rewarding.
So if I've still got time, I've got like 2 random questions from the stuff that you spoke about before. The first one is you were talking about training people doing some spinning in a T6. That, I mean, I can't even. T6 spin must take quite a bit of altitude, I'd have thought.
Yeah, I didn't do any spins below, and I still, you know, I don't. Occasionally, I'll fly with somebody, but I don't do any spins below 10,000 feet above the ground. The nose, when a T6 goes into spin, it drops like a rock, and the nose comes down. It's really a nose low spin, and if you don't recover just right, it can stay in the spin a little longer than people expect. It can be pretty, you know, frightening for somebody that's learning, you know, what the spin is all about. So you really have to keep the ailerons neutral, and you have to push the stick forward enough to get it to recover. If you only go about neutral, it wants to stay in the spin, unlike most airplanes. You know, most airplanes we teach just let go of the stick, and the plane wants to fly. The nose will come down. It'll recover if all else fails. You know, so but the T6 is a little bit different, and it'll really wrap up, and the engine, you know, the prop can start stopping too because the power's back, and you know, it's exciting. So, but it's good for pilots who are flying them to see it. You know, I don't think most people haven't done spins. The biggest thing about T6 is the design of the wing, and most warbirds. There's no stall warning. There's no buffet. It just, you know, if you're skidding around a turn, it'll go, and the next thing you know, you're in a dive or a spin. So
cool. My second very quick question, and it's a really strange question. When you're when an airplane ends up in a museum, is that kind of like a donation? Do they buy them or what? How does that work?
No, they don't. Sometimes grade them. I've heard of that. I don't really know any specifics on it, but sometimes the museum has more than one type of airplane. You know, like the Air and Space Museum only wants one airplane of a type. You know, they don't want 3, you know, Pitzes, let's say. They have Betty Skelton's Pitts in there. They don't want 2 more Pitzes. So they might have an extra one sitting around that was donated, and sitting around. But sometimes they can trade it, but we donated it. And then, of course, in the States, I know it's a little bit different in the UK, but we got a tax write-off for it. I don't know that we needed such a big tax write-off at the time, but we got a tax write-off for it, and we worked it as a donation.
There you go. I just wonder, something I've always wondered and never.
That's a good question.
I don't think anyone's going to want my Cessna 182.
I was going to say, Ian, are you trying to put your Cessna in a museum?
Yeah, the National Aerobatic Museum is not going to be calling you.
Fair enough. Okay. Have we got any questions in the comments? Because we're beginning to run out of time.
I don't think so. I mean, we've kind of covered things as we've been talking. There was one. Where is it? Pete Pangeli says, did you ferry your aeroplane between shows, or did you get someone to do that for you?
Both. I do both. You know, when I was doing tons of shows every year, I had a ferry pilot, and I fly Baron or Bonanza or Cirrus, something like that, with my dog or my bird. Sometimes I take my parrot with me and my stuff. Yeah, I went to lots of shows, and so yeah, and you know, when you're only doing a few shows a year, you know, you don't have a full-time person working for you. You just have friends helping or whatever. Or I fly it myself sometimes. Sometimes it's kind of fun. I did a show just not too long ago, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, whatever. I flew myself, and just, you know, people help you out at the show, and it's fine.
Who's the best passenger, your dog or your parrot?
The parrot by far. He loves to fly. He's pretty old. He's almost 25, and he's a conure, so he's not really big. So, you know, he's quite a senior little guy. But so I don't take him as much anymore. But he loves it. He sits in his travel cage, and I prop him up so he can see out the window. And then when we get up to altitude, I let him out. Let him fly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Have you got any plans to come over to the UK anytime soon?
I would love to. It's, you know, my favorite place. I have a lot of friends there, and so I don't know. Maybe.
Catkin says, would consider doing an air show. I guess someone needs to sponsor that.
Yeah, talk to Mark Jeffries and let me fly one of his planes, and I'll come over.
We've had Mark on the live stream, so maybe we need to pester him.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I flew one of his planes in China a couple of years ago for an air show, so I'm sure he wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, there's a project.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We used to come to, before COVID. We used to come to Florida every year. So we would have said we'll drop by St. Augustine next time, but
please do.
We started that yet, but maybe one day we will.
It's you know, I have a website. It's just my name, pattywagstaff.com, and you can contact me on there anywhere. And yeah, we'd love to see you here. We'll go flying.
Sounds good to me. There you go. pattywagstaff.com.
There we go.
Brilliant. Patty, thank you very much for joining us. I know you've got a busy schedule, and we've been working on this for a while, so it's been an absolute pleasure. We look forward to seeing you in England. If you come over, we'll phone up Mark and ask him to post you the keys to one of his airplanes, and failing that, we'll see you somewhere else in the world.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
What a great guest.
Absolutely.
Again, oh, there we go. That's much better.
There you go.
Yeah,
and it's just a whole load of people who appreciate it, because my phone was going a bit mad with messages, so I must have a bunch of messages to either go, Patty's a great guest or something.
Yeah, or people going, do you know Patty Wagstaff's on the live stream? It's like, yes.
Oh, really? Cool.
But yeah, and just been flying an awful lot, and I'd forgotten that she'd come to the UK, obviously when they had the World Aerobatic Championships at South Cerney.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard Kennedy, very good. Parrot would be handy for ATC readbacks. Or just squawks. I forgot, I didn't see those. There we go. Well, so fancy hanger this week, because we were inspired by our guest. We thought we'd go searching in the aviation classifieds for aerobatic aeroplanes to add to our fancy hangers. So who's first?
Oh, I think we should go with Dave first, actually.
Dave.
Okay. Well, I found this absolutely amazing book of Youngman, the Spanish one, Casa, and it's in England. It's being sold at Henstridge. Wilco Aviation is selling it at Henstridge. It's absolutely lovely, and it started life with the Spanish military, and then transferred to the German register. So it's been around a bit. When it came to the UK in 2001, it went through a full restoration. It's in lovely condition. If you look at it's on plane check. It's not cheap. I have to say, it's not cheap. It's 95,000 pounds. That's right, 106,000 euros. But yeah, lovely aeroplane.
If I had to spare £100,000 and somewhere to put it and everything else, I'd
It's
be
just
tempted.
fancy, Ian. Fancy fans. Price not supposed to be.
No, I'm not. Oh, I think it's a great. I think it's a great airplane. I was saying I wouldn't mind one of those.
Yeah, I like and Youngmans and Youngmeisters are like the most kind of fabled aerobatic aeroplanes, aren't they? So yeah, definitely. Who's next?
Absolutely. Well, I think I should probably go next in that case, because so I kind of thought about it a lot, and I was looking for something exotic, and then I thought I could go for a joke, Cessna Aerobat, because they're a laugh, as it were. But in the end, I decided I went for a Yak 50 because there's a whole bunch of these for sale at the moment. Jez Hopkinson, again down at Henstridge, funnily enough, is selling his entire fleet. So Yak 50, supposed to be one of the absolute nicest single-seat aircraft to fly, beautifully harmonised and everything. I was trying to blag myself a go in it, which I haven't managed yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to manage that now. But that's why I kind of figure a Yak 50. All of the ones that Jez has got are all absolutely immaculately looked after. Got the big engines, big 3-bladed props, and quite a nice avionics fit as well. So and some good hours. Unfortunately, the price is not published. It's a price to be discussed kind of thing. So I don't know. It's a Yak. So it's not that expensive, is it? It's probably only going to be, I don't know, 70 grand or something. Who knows?
And again, just like the Youngman, pretty legendary aerobatic mount. So
yeah. So there you go. That's probably got some of the nicest 50s in the world. So
yeah, clearly not a very. It's like limited endurance and the pain of pneumatics.
Well, I don't want it for touring. Just want it, Frank. To be perfectly honest with you, I have done I've done a couple of aerobatic competitions in the past as well in my youth, and I don't have a huge tolerance for G, and I have almost no tolerance for negative G. So it's not like I want to go and fly 3 hours worth of aeros in my Yak 50. 20 minutes and I'll be fine. I'll be back.
Gentlemanly, yes. So Johnny, what have you gone for?
Yeah, I've gone for a jet. So yeah, this was on Barnstormers, being sold from a company called Code One. It's a Hawk.
No.
Yeah, Hawk T1.
Excellent.
It is 2,500 hours on the airframe. Not sure about the engine. 6,500 on the engine. With obviously an A-door, which are fairly reliable, but they're actually pretty rugged airplanes, and I think they'd probably be quite easy to maintain.
But that must be really. It must be really expensive.
It's 900 grand.
That seems remarkably cheap for.
It is remarkably cheap, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're simple to maintain now. I suppose it depends what your view of simple is, really.
Yeah, I'm coming from the point of view of if you're an Air Force.
Oh, okay. If you got like a C-42 and a Rotax.
Yeah, it's probably easy. I can, I think clearly you're onto something there, because if you paint it red with some white and blue stripes, you can just tool around the country and no one thinks any the wiser of this low-flying red and white Hawk.
You could even exemption.
Yeah, you could even turn up at air shows and go, look, there's 9 of my mates, I'll join in.
You would never get caught if you infringed a Red Arrows TRX, would you?
No, but there would be a season of people going, God, the Red Arrows are rubbish. That one's all the way over there.
That's a great idea. It's worth buying just for that.
It is, yeah. You go to RAF stations. Yeah, free landings, probably free fuel.
Probably free fuel, yeah. They might notice a difference, though. Most people wouldn't, but they might.
There we go. John Milner's already like, you can be Red 11.
Right. Okay, no, good one. Ed.
Which leaves me. So, and I channeled my inner Patty Wagstaff, because I found this, a fantastic Extra 230, again on Barnstormers. And they're just, it's hard to believe, but this is 40 years old. Because Walter Extra started designing stuff. He was inspired by the Laser 200 and started creating his own aeroplanes. And in '83, the Extra 230 came out. And I just this is just, you know, the extra brand is really, you know, quite legendary, very cool, and I just think that looks like a lot of fun to have. And the very early extras you can actually have on a permit to fly. So
wow. How much
and that
was
was $128,000. So and it's only got 184 hours since restoration. And as the description says, gorgeous aeroplane, unlimited aerobatics on 4-cylinder fuel burn. So.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look.
How we doing in the comments? So we have. Let's scroll back a little bit. Youngman and $50,000 left over, or that eVTOL thing. Tough decision. Here we go. Yeah. Martin Loosby said, "I'd have Crazy Horse TF51. Not that I'm skillful enough to do it on my own, because I'm not skillful enough to do it on my own." Catkin says, "Hawk, very classy. Johnny wins." Pete Pangeli said, "New game bird." Yeah, Erotiques is definitely on the. Would you paint it red, Johnny? What else we got? Dave wins. Johnny wins. Dave wins again. Sorry, Johnny. Ed wins. All equal, says Jane. Johnny wins. Is that a flag made from tinsel? I think there is a flag made from tinsel behind my extra.
Yeah.
Ian wins. Johnny wins. Dave wins. Very sensible, Ed. But who wants sensible? I think, you know, sometimes you just, it's only got one wing. Ed's back on form. Okay. 4-way tie. I'd like all of them. Yeah, we could do that. Ed wins for me. Johnny tonight. I think, I think I'm going to go, if we had all 4 of those and Johnny's Hawk painted red. No one would be unhappy.
Yeah, no, indeed. Good. Are there any events left taking place?
There's a couple of weird things. There's excuse me, Friday to Sunday. There's a balloon thing flying at Fishburn. The final air show of the season is at Duxford on Saturday. We've already mentioned the Wingley webinar next Tuesday. Pilot Careers Live is in Dublin next Saturday, the 21st. And there's a fly-in at Stowe Marie on the 21st.
Yes.
One for put in the diary is the 13th of November, the Light Aircraft Design Conference at the Royal Aeronautical Society's London HQ. If you're interested in aircraft design, you need to go along to that.
And Skycrow says New Farm is having a fly-in Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
Whereabouts is New Farm?
I believe, Skycrow, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's New Farm, Piddington.
That's correct.
Yeah, south-west of Sywell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Pittsford. It's different to them.
Yeah, not Pittsford, but somewhere around that area, that kind of county, I'd say.
Cool, brilliant. Okay, Dave, was the first event? Did you call it a balloon fly-in?
They don't fly in balloons. They sort of get there and take off. But sometimes they just go up. I just call it a balloon.
That would be like really hit and miss, wouldn't it? You see all of your customers just like going on. Good. Right. In that case, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. Looks like the weather's pants tomorrow. Much better on Saturday, but even better on Sunday. So if you're going to go flying, have a good one. Don't forget 2023 and 2023. Thank you very much, Aviation Exposed and Continental Aerospace Technologies, to give them their proper name. Thank you very much, Sky Demon. Thank you very much, team. Above all, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday. If you're a member, if you're not a member, come on, join. We can't. We need to live. Otherwise, thank you very much, and see you all soon.
See you.
Fly safe, everybody. Oh, I think we're all clicking on it. There we go.